Good evening, my name is Dr. Rayan Aava. Last week, Trump gave a ridiculous and hilarious fruit deposition that gave rise to many fruit-related headlines and internet memes. Why? Because the former disgraced president said that he could have been killed if somebody were to throw a tomato at him. The lethal threat that must meet with the maximum force was undoubtedly hilarious. But believe it or not, this is exactly what came up in a deposition in a civil case where Trump attempted not to be held accountable, as usual, for his security guards beating up protesters. The usual entitled Trump. While campaigning for the 2016 presidential elections, Trump repeatedly encouraged his supporters to use violence against people protesting him. That would give him pleasure and make Trump rallies, in his words, more fun. He even once said that he could stand in the middle of the Fifth Avenue in New York City and shoot someone and get away with it. But how do you get away with something like that? Really, how do you get away with it? Well, Rachel Maddow from MSNBC believes that hyping some non-existent threat beyond all recognition to justify and provide a pretext for whatever extreme thing you want to do is the answer to the reference question. We have seen Trump using the same tactical pattern repeatedly. The ostensible reason behind lock her up chants was that Hillary Clinton used her personal email account when she worked at the State Department. Now, never mind that Trump literally trucked boxes of highly classified material to Mar-a-Lago and left them laying around at his golf club. Never mind that. That is how you build yourself the pretext needed. Recently, a handful of old Trump-supporting white men in some villages in Florida, New Hampshire, and Ohio voted twice for Trump because they thought that no one would notice. And I'm not trying to just mention cases of fraudulent Trump voters out of convenience. It really sums up all the voting fraud cases that have broken in the past few months. Now, you take that invisible and totally non-consequential threat and turn it into a mechanized million-strong cabal using South Korean planes, Venezuela and Italian satellites, or Jewish space lasers. And soon enough, you claim that voting fraud is the end of America, giving you the pretext needed to justify what you really wanted to do in the first place, which is to stop abiding by actual election results and hold power by force and insistence. It is not something new belonging to the Trump era. Stalin invaded Finland in 1939 because the Soviets, a nation of 180 million, felt threatened by the 4 million in Finland. An English newsreel mocked the invasion by saying, and I quote, "Huge Russian Air Force, probably the biggest in the world, fears for its very existence. And the Red Fleet no doubt have been gravely menaced by Finland's 2 or 3 warships." End of quote. Now, Putin invaded Ukraine because he too felt threatened by the small Ukrainian army. But what are the real facts? Well, the facts are that Russia is 3,000% larger than Ukraine. But still, make the claim, find a threat, invent a threat, or find one and hype it up beyond comprehension. Neutralize the bizarreness of that supposed and overhyped threat through propaganda and mass repetition. Lock her up. The press is the enemy of the people. Ukraine needs to be demilitarized and denazified. You see, you invent a threat out of whole cloth, or take the smallest thing in the world and blow it up into something incomprehensibly massive, and bingo, you got yourself exactly what you wanted. The pretext for anything you want. Now, the time that we are in right now is the time that feels that we are at the corner of a stupid and scary. It's the overlap in the Venn diagram. This kind of tactic that we are seeing against the press, voting, and political opponents is not new. But if we can see it more clearly, if we can get more fluent about it and talk about it amongst ourselves, we will soon learn that we can turn to our advantage the learned experiences of the people who have gone before us and faced it and fought it before we have had to do. The White House Correspondence Association dinner, which last president did not go to his whole time in office, and by the way, not just because of COVID. It was because the previous disgraced president literally campaigned against there being a free press. He literally campaigned on that enemy of the people phrase borrowed from Stalin. Now, the Biden White House was concerned, and understandably so, about President Biden's decision to attend the dinner in person. It was understandable because it was a controversial decision. I mean, there were going to be more than 2,000 people in an indoor ballroom. The President of the United States is 79 years old. The Vice President already has COVID. So it's understandable. But his attendance at this moment in person was of significance, both domestically and internationally. The significance lies in the US president standing for and standing with the press, because there is an opposing side from the other side of American politics. The Republican Party said in a statement earlier this month that there will not be any debates between the two candidates in the next presidential election. The logic, or lack thereof, behind their decision is that reporters are the ones asking the questions at presidential debates. And therefore, there will be no presidential debates in 2024. It is a remarkable, stupid decision. And because the press is involved in asking the questions, and the Republican Party can no longer abide by that. That is ridiculous. Now, the White House Correspondence Association dinner took place after 3 years.
This is the first time the president attended this dinner in 6 years. It's understandable. We had a horrible plague, followed by 2 years of COVID.
This year, my favorite comedian, Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show, hosted the White House Correspondence dinner.
I've just got to say, this is so exciting, to be at this swanky party full of Washington's most powerful people. It's not as exciting as Madison Cawthorn made it sound, but still very sexy. Very, very sexy. There's many big names here tonight. Yeah, one of my favorites, Ron DeSantis, is here. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm actually surprised that he found the time. He's been so busy trying to outmaneuver Trump for 2024. I see you, Ron. I see you, Flair. Yeah, I've seen what you've been doing, blaming Trump for the lockdowns, distancing yourself from the vaccines that Trump created with his own 2 hands. Nobody knew how to make vaccines until I made them. Beautiful, beautiful vaccines. Nobody knew how. Not even Fauci. But Ron is playing it coy, man. He won't even tell people if he got the booster, yeah? Or as they say in Florida, don't ask, don't tell. Am I right? I see you, Ron. You see, what I like about Ron DeSantis is, like, if Trump was the original Terminator, DeSantis is like the T-1000. You're smarter than him. You're slicker than him. You can walk down ramps. Yeah. Because you see, no, Trump said he won the election, but everyone was just able to look at the numbers and see that he was wrong. That's why Ron DeSantis is one step ahead. First, you ban the math textbooks, then nobody knows how to count the votes. Boom! My man! Ha ha ha!
And in his closing remarks, he highlighted the role of the media in today's world. Now, about 2,500, give or take, attend the annual White House Correspondence Association, or the WHCA dinner. It is a rare opportunity to see the media, presidents, comedians, and a bunch of Hollywood stars in one room. It's an opportunity for the President of the United States, to throw a few light jabs at media, and media to throw more hooks right back at him.
Tonight, we come here to answer a very important question in everybody's mind. Why in the hell are we still doing this? I know there are questions about whether we should gather here tonight because of COVID. Well, we're here to show the country that we're getting through this pandemic. Plus, everyone had to prove they were fully vaccinated and boosted. So if you're at home watching this and you're wondering how to do that, just contact your favorite Fox News reporter. They're all here, vaccinated and boosted, all of them. Never have to open before Trevor Noah. Trevor's great. When I was elected, he did a show and he called me America's new dad. Let me tell you something, pal. I'm flattered anybody would call me a new anything. You're my guy.
By 1983, it became almost exclusively comedy-focused and has become known for featuring a roast of the president, their administrations, and other political bigwigs.
Now, you might have noticed I'm going to be telling some jokes tonight. But I want you to understand, I am not here to tear anybody down, okay? Yeah, I might roast you gently, like a pair of testicles on a Tucker Carlson special, but I'm not doing this just for the attention, all right? I'm a comedian, not Kirsten Sinema, all right? And by the way, give it up for Kirsten Sinema. Whoever thought we'd see the day in American politics when a senator could be openly bisexual but closeted Republican, huh? That's progress. That's progress. And yes, I know a lot of you are worried, and yes, it is risky making jokes these days, I mean, we all saw what happened at the Oscars. I've actually been a little bit worried about tonight. I won't lie, I was like, what if I make like a really mean joke, about like Kellyanne Conway, and then her husband rushes up on the stage and thanks me.
Now, comedians have come back time and time again, like Jay Leno, who has taken the stage 4 times. It is a chance for comedians to air their grievances against the status quo, and sometimes the jokes are not taken so well. Michelle Wolf's 2018 monologue, one of my favorite actually, about the Trump administration, set social media ablaze with her cutting humor and sometimes crude language.
Good evening, good evening. Here we are, the White House Correspondence dinner. Like a porn star says when she's about to have sex with a Trump, let's get this over with. I'm here to make jokes. I have no agenda. I'm not trying to get anything accomplished. So everyone that's here from Congress, you should feel right at home. Of course, Trump isn't here, if you haven't noticed. He's not here. And I know I would drag him here myself, but it turns out the President of the United States is the one pussy you're not allowed to grab.
As I stated earlier, this year my favorite comedian Trevor Noah hosted the White House Correspondence dinner. And in his closing remarks, well, why don't we just watch it together? Because it is well worth watching it over and over and over. Here's Trevor Noah.
This is truly the golden era of conspiracy theories. Whether it's the right wing, believing Trump can still win the 2020 election, or the left believing Joe Biden can still win the 2024 election. Thank you, Mr. President. And so as we sit in this room tonight, people, I really hope you all remember what the real purpose of this evening is. Yes, it's fun. Yes, we dress nice. Yes, the people eat, they drink, we have fun. But the reason we're here is to honor and celebrate the Fourth Estate and what you stand for. What you stand for. An additional check and balance that holds power to account and gives voice to those who otherwise wouldn't have one. And like, I'm not just talking about like CNN or Fox or any of the other major organizations. I'm talking about everyone. You know, the young journalists we saw today, you know, intrepid journalists who aren't even in this room in Flint, Michigan, or that daring reporter at the Des Moines Register, or the unflinching local newscaster in El Paso, Texas. Every single one of you, whether you like it or not, is a bastion of democracy. And if you ever begin to doubt your responsibilities, if you ever begin to doubt how meaningful it is, look no further than what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening there. Journalists are risking and even losing their lives to show the world what's really happening. You realize how amazing it is. Like, in America, you have the right to seek the truth and speak the truth, even if it makes people in power uncomfortable, even if it makes your viewers or your readers uncomfortable. You understand how amazing that is? I stood here tonight and I made fun of the President of the United States, and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine, right? Do you really understand what a blessing it is? Maybe it's happened for so long that it might slip your mind. It's a blessing. In fact, here, ask yourself this question. Honestly, ask yourself this question. If Russian journalists who are losing their livelihoods, as you were talking about, Steve, and their freedom for daring to report on what their own government is doing, if they had the freedom to write any words, to show any stories, or to ask any questions, if they had basically what you have, would they be using it in the same way that you do? Ask yourself that question every day, because you have one of the most important roles in the world. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. Please be careful leaving tonight. We all know this administration doesn't handle evacuations well. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.